Heyo everybody, Haku here with this week's review for Toaru Kagaku no Accelerator. I almost used Majutsu. Toaru Kagaku no Accelerator. This week we have episode 4. Sorry, my voice is still a little bit gone. I've recorded a lot this week, and yeah, it just seems like my voice isn't holding up the best. But either way, this may end up being another longish kind of review. I have no idea because I have a ton of notes, and it's another situation where the pacing didn't feel rushed or anything. It felt paced naturally. It felt paced really well, but a lot happened. They managed to keep the pacing good and accomplish a lot in just this one episode. There was a lot of information that we got. So because of that, I'm probably going to have to refer to my bullet point notes a lot to try to keep me on track and keep me remembering everything that happened. But the way I went through and read this, and there's probably things even that I missed even watching the episode twice, because the way I've been doing things with this season that I think I'll do anime reviews from now on like this, because it's worked really well, is I watch it my first time for fun, then I just think about it a bit, take some general notes at what stuck out the most to me that I thought was most important or that I liked the most. Just some general notes like that, some general thoughts. Then go back through, watch it a second time, and actually take notes while watching it to get the basic beats down so that I don't forget anything. But to start off with some of those general points that I like the most, I love the Misaka clones, the Misaka Imotos, getting development here. That's something that is kind of big to me. Developing them into their own sort of characters I think is really cool. I've always loved the Misaka Imoto characters, so I'm excited just to be able to see more of them in this situation. And at first, when I first saw that the brief shot of him running by, I thought it was going to be just Misaka Prime, the original. But I like that it was one of the clones, and I like that more of the clones are going to get to come in and have different roles and interactions with Accelerator and other characters. Just the way that they're being used in general, I think, is really good. I also like that we got further into the mindset of what Accelerator's going for philosophy-wise, where he's almost sort of like a villain of villains, or a monster to monsters. Like, he's a villain, but he's not a villain like going after ruining the good guys' lives and scaring the good guys. He's striking fear into the hearts of other villains. He's a villain to the villains. He doesn't see himself as a hero out saving innocent people. He sees himself as a villain just terrorizing and putting people in fear, but the people he's terrorizing and putting in fear are the other villains. He is a monster to the monsters. So I like that. Also, Hasami, I believe was her name, was revived, and she's pretty cool. I kind of wish she would have kept her original human personality or powers or whatever, but she might deep in there somewhere. She's having this sort of Huoto, or is it just Hoto, robotic sort of personality and voice going on, but I think it could be cool if we explore that the original Hasami is kind of still in there, and so she's still a bit of the same person, and not just a corpse being used robotically, which would be weird. I would like to see Hasami actually developed as a character, personality-wise, but I do really like her so far. And I hope she actually can still use her abilities. It'd be cool if, in addition to zombie strength, like when I saw her start doing some of the stuff she was doing, I was like, oh my god, she has zombie strength. But if she keeps zombie strength, plus can use her fire powers, that'd be really cool. But I think it's too soon to rule that out, so it's maybe a possibility for the future. I also think that Scavenger is interesting. They seem really cool. I'm interested to know what the backstory is. Are they like just experiment children? Are they androids? Are they like biologically created experiments? Why were they in those pods? They seem to be incredibly powerful. So I'm interested to see what they could be or what they could do in the future. From there, I also thought that the explanation of DA and who they were is an explanation I'm really satisfied with. I like that they're just wannabe vigilantes pretty much. They're kind of like dirty cops. They were like the cops that took things too far and were like, yes, let's illegally trade weapons to these people because these people say they'll take down terrorists, like they said about that one guy. Or let's go after this criminal so hard that we leave them like permanently injured or whatever. So they're basically like dirty cops that have gone too far, that have decided to team up to be just this wannabe vigilante organization. So I think it's interesting too, especially you see sort of like the very cultish mind where we have the one scene where one of them's kind of questioning, okay, what do we do now? And they're like, no room for quitters, no room for non-believers. You have to be all in on justice. And the guy who was questioning it was like, oh yeah, totally right, all in on justice, let's do this. So I actually think that the explanation for DA is a really satisfying explanation. Also, the setup for Accelerator through him still dealing with his injuries and through his building relationships now with the Misaka clones and Last Order and Yoshikawa, I like that we have a setup for Accelerator in the sort of fighting sense to struggle a bit more because he is supposedly the strongest. What excitement is there is if he has no threats? So I like that because of his injury and stuff, we've set up the storyline in a way that he is going to have struggles physically, but he's also going to have something that's cool where this is set between Index 1 and Index 2, and we see that now he has a pretty good relationship with Yoshikawa. He was living with her in Yomikawa, I think, and we don't know how things kind of get patched up between him and the Misaka clones, even though he did save Last Order, and they seem to be on his good side because of that, or they seem to like him because of that. So I think it's good to build up sort of how he comes to terms with what he's done and how he builds a relationship, however awkward it may be, with the Misaka clones, like we saw in his conversation with the one in the hospital room. I thought that was really good. And how he builds his relationship with Last Order, how he builds his relationship with Yoshikawa and Yomikawa. I'm really, really interested in that kind of thing, and I like that it's been set up like this. So 7 minutes in, and all I've given are these general thoughts, but now let's sort of review the actual episode. Let's go through the different scenes and what happened and talk about them a bit. So the Huoto, or whatever, or the just Hoto, but it was spelled Huoto, is the third number, so I don't know if that means they're like the third currently active one, or the third person in general. Well, I guess they couldn't be the third person in general revived or controlled by Esther, but it could be a situation where the souls are different. She could have just used the corpses of a bunch of people to do various things while she's on the run or whatever, but the actual act of putting a false soul into a person is what creates the Huoto, or the number. And maybe that's the significance behind them being the third. Also, they always refer to Esther as Adonai, and I think that means father. I'm not sure what language that's in. Maybe it's Hebrew. Oh, I'm not sure, but I think Adonai means father. I don't know where I know this from or why I know this. It might be Latin or Greek. I have no idea. I have no idea where I know it from, but I'm pretty sure that means father, and so I guess that's just what they refer to Esther as, because they are the one who created the soul or revived Tasami. You get the point. But Accelerator protects her. I like that. Esther was going in to say, no, it's not just a body, it's a person, I can't let them get hurt, and goes in to protect the corpse they just reanimated. But Accelerator's more well equipped to do so, so he steps in. Then we get the opening. I love the opening song. I really, really do. They added some new things in. They added in Scavenger and Tasami to the opening. But I love the song. The opening itself, the animation and direction, still like, it's not that exciting to look at, but I love the song. And another thing with Accelerator, I like this personality here. He seems to be all about scaring the bad guys. He could have straight up murdered the one guy, but I don't think he was ever going to actually murder the one guy. I think he was just scaring him until he passed out. And of course hurting him using his powers, but just generally I don't think he seemed like he was like going to actually murder him if he didn't have to. So it's one of those things where I don't know, Accelerator, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but he's becoming much more of a nice, good guy when the stakes aren't high. When the stakes are high, though, we know that from Index 2 he'll just straight up murder some of the people like he did with Hound Dogs. Um, then we get into the bit where he's still suffering from his injury. I think that's a great plot point, personally. And of course, one of the enemies ran away, which is good. You always have to have the one enemy to run away and escape and tell the other enemies that something bad's going on. You always got to have that. We see some of the zombie strength being exhibited by Hasami, which was cool. And then I thought it was going to be Misaka Prime when we saw the guy escaping run past the girl in the Tokyo Dai uniform, but it's one of the Misaki Imoto, and she sadly, I like the way she monologued to herself during her fight and all, and it was cool seeing one of the Imotos get to fight, so I kind of hope we don't even have the normal Misaka here, but we have at least one of the Misaki Imoto. Like, I want to see one of them just be a main cast member and stick around. I would like that a lot. But they get taken hostage, and I like that Esther cares for Hasami. Hasami's like, I could use up some of the muscle fibers in my leg and catch up to them, but Esther's like, no, we'll just regroup and then find them without causing harm to you. So I like that. It's character growth already. It's like one of these things where she's like, oh yeah, I need, like, she shows up, and as she shows up, she's already had the mistakes she's made in the past, and she's like, I'm trying to do better. So now we can actually see her trying to do better. And we have sort of the investigators with Yomikawa finding out that the people who were involved in this were using old anti-skill equipment that should have been retired by now. So that's again their first hint that that's how DA is doing this. They have like sort of old anti-skill equipment. We get to see Uiharu and Saten, which was really, really surprising and really cool. I freaked out when I saw him. It was great. And we learn about the Assassin's Creed Syndicate base. Like, when they started talking about the train that never stops moving, I was like, oh my god, somebody's using that as a base. It's so brilliant. That's probably how DA's base works. And yeah, that's it. It's the Assassin's Creed Syndicate base. It's just the train. The girl who was with, what was his name? I think I have it in my notes. Nakimoto. I had it later on in the notes. The girl who was with him was cute. I hope she gets made into an actual character, maybe. Who knows? She had a good character design, though. But again, Nakimoto is part of the board. Why are the board of directors all sketchy all the time? Except for like Monica from Index 3. They're like all sketchy all the time. The board is like always involved in some kind of shady group. But we have Nakimoto who's involved. He's talking to Hishigata, and the two of them are basically like, DA is really loud and really obvious, and we can't have people making moves this loud and obvious. We can't have them like releasing combat robots in the middle of a parking lot. So they decide to cut off DA, and that leads to the awakening of Scavenger. Whatever Scavenger are, obviously some kind of experiments. No clue what kind. If they're people who were experimented on, if they're androids, maybe cyborgs, if they're biologically created experiment people, no clue who they are, or what they are, rather. Then we have Accelerator waking up after getting sort of re-healed by Heaven Canceller, and Last Order is so adorable. One thing I didn't catch my first time watching is an amazing line where she was like, do you want me to go get you something to eat? Asks Misaka. And when I don't remember if it was asks Misaka, hoping he doesn't ask for an apple because her inability to peel an apple would leave her up a creek, or if she asks, does he want anything, and he's like, no, and she's like, oh good, says Misaka, relieved that she wasn't asked for an apple because she cannot peel an apple. Either way, the line was amazing. I loved it. And she had another one as well where he asks for coffee, and she's like, well, the doctor said no stimulants, but it should be fine. And she's like, but I don't have any money, says Misaka, waiting for you to hand over your card. It was so good. And then we see one of the Misaka sisters showing up to tell Accelerator about the other one being kidnapped, saying she's hiding it from Last Order for right now. And she was talking about like reading shoujo manga and like, oh, a guy would think it was cute for your penmanship to be bad like this. So it had me thinking, is this Misaka 19090? Because they were the ones in Accelerator, or Index 2, I think, that were always talking about boys and losing weight and stuff. But either way, Accelerator makes fun of the penmanship, and I love that it wasn't actually Esther's penmanship, because I was expecting it to be Esther's, and I was like, oh, it would make sense that hers is bad, because she obviously doesn't seem Japanese, but I love that it was actually just Misaka's penmanship. But the one taken was 10046, so they're hopefully going to be a character that's important too. But Yoshikawa calls, gives information to Accelerator about DA and who they are and all that, and basically all of them are trying to hide it from Last Order for right now. But that's where we get our explanation. DA are basically dirty anti-skill cops who got reprimanded for going too far and breaking the rules, and they've basically become a group of wannabe vigilantes, but now they're being purged by the higher-ups of seemingly their own group. But it's basically Nakimoto, and Hishigata's kind of on the lowdown working with them to purge them because they're too loud and obvious, and they're just not the DA isn't the best henchman group to handle things for them. So DA, we get the scene there where they're talking about Nakimoto turning on them, and they're basically still in this sort of mindset where they think they are justice and they're in the right, and they're like, he's turning on us. It must not be because we've done anything wrong. It must be because the board doesn't care about true justice and all. So that was all good. I actually really did like that scene a bit. It puts us a bit more into the cult-like mindset of DA. From there, we've got Hishigata saying that he wants 10046, and Yomikawa looking through the database and finding out about DA and how the former reprimanded members of Anti-Skill are the members of DA. And then at the very, very end, we get a scavenger scene, yeah. So Scavenger took down an entire DA base, which makes it seem like they're incredibly, incredibly powerful, and the only one whose power we get to see so far is one girl. I think they're all girls, but one or two of them are kind of questionable. Maybe they could be a guy. But they use a skill called Predator, and that has to be at least level 4. Like, that seems incredibly OP, and it looked really cool. So they're very, very powerful from what we can see so far. So yeah, this ended up being a longer review because, like I said, it didn't feel rushed. It felt paced very well. But a lot happened. We got a ton when it comes to character developments, character relationships, different characters moving in different places. And like, I talked a lot, and I didn't even bring up some sort of unimportant stuff that was just kind of adding a little extra flavor to the episode. So yeah, just so much happened, and I loved it. I thought it was all great. I think the animation quality was really, really solid. The music was good. The music for Accelerator has generally been really good, and it feels similar to Index and Railgun, but it has its own little feel that's different. And that's another thing that made this episode even better, where I've said it more and more each episode. Accelerator is kind of coming into its own and moving away from Index and Railgun and kind of sort of building its own identity with the way it feels to watch the show, and I like it a lot. I think I could end up, depending on how the story goes and how good it is and all, I could even end up liking it more than I do Index, because it's really good so far. I really liked it. And in general, I'd give the episode as a score 8 human experiments out of 10. Yeah, I just thought everything was really good. Really, really good. And I like all the characters. I think that's important too. I've always liked Accelerator and Last Order from other series, and I like the Misaki Imoto, so it's great to see not only more of them, but to see them developed more too is great. And we get to learn more about Yomikawa and Yoshikawa here. We get some screen time for them. We get new characters like Esther, who I love. I love Esther's character, and I feel like I could end up growing to like Asami too. I have high hopes. It's like, I don't have any reason to really like her yet, but I have high hopes that I will like her in the future. Right now, though, I love Esther. Esther is a really cool character. But yeah, that's it. I think that's all there is to say. 8 out of 10. I loved it, and I hope you did too. And I hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching it. And like if you did like the video. Comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode and what you thought of my thoughts on it. We can talk there. If you want to link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, we can talk there too. Or if you want to follow on Twitter, I could keep you updated there and stuff for the channel or talk to you there. And as always, subscribe on YouTube if you want as well. And lastly, if you want to help support the channel and maybe vote on future series for the channel, then think about joining up and supporting on Patreon. Link will be in the description. But yeah, that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.